All right, DeFi fans, buckle up. We're diving deep into Bifrost 2.0 and this crazy new token they're cooking up, BBNC. Got Lurpus's proposal doc right here, and let me tell you, this thing is packed.
You know, it's kind of wild, right? Bifrost is already a heavy hitter in liquid staking. $63 million locked in, but they're only pulling in like $1.5 million a year in revenue. Plus, they've got that fixed 80 million BNC token supply, no inflation. So how do they make BNC more valuable? Get people really fired up about holding it. That's the puzzle.
It is, right. It's like they're sitting on this huge potential gold mine, but haven't quite cracked the code to turn it, well, into actual gold. But Lurpus has got a plan, and it hinges on one big idea: using 100% of Bifrost's profits to buy back BNC tokens. And there's this quote in here that really grabbed me. It says, "Tokens are a greater invention than blockchain technology itself." That's a bold statement, but it shows you just how much weight tokenomics carries in this space.
Totally agree. Nailing the tokenomics is like, I don't know, building the engine for a rocket.
Yeah.
If it's not designed right, you're not going anywhere. And for Bifrost, this new system, it's all about rewarding the OGs, the ones holding BNC for the long game.
So let's break down this BBBNC thing. It's called a non-transferable escrow token. Sounds a bit intimidating, huh? Basically, it represents your share of those buyback profits, right?
Exactly. You can't just go buy BBBNC on some exchange. First, got to stake your BNC to get VBNC. That's Bifrost's liquid staking token. Then you lock up that VBNC for however long you choose, and that's how you earn BBBNC. The longer the lockup, the more BBBNC you snag.
Okay, so if I'm getting this right, say I'm feeling super bullish and lock up my BBNC for the full 4 years. Boom, I get one BBNC for each VBNC I put in. But if I chicken out after 3 months, I only get a tiny sliver of DBNC.
It's a pretty clear message. Bifrost wants you to settle in, become part of the furniture.
But what's the real draw with BBBNC? Is it just about hoping the price of BNC goes through the roof?
Well, that's definitely part of it, right? Bifrost buys back BNC with those profits. Less BNC around, price should climb. But BBBNC, it's got more tricks up its sleeve than just that.
And that's where it gets really interesting. We're not just talking about BNC's price going up. You're actually getting a share of Bifrost's profits paid straight to you. Plus, you still keep earning those staking rewards from your original VBNC.
You're not giving up anything you already had, just adding on top. And here's the kicker. BBBNC keeps your voting rights intact, same as regular BNC. You still have a voice in how Bifrost evolves.
Now, there's this boosted farming thing they mentioned. Sounds kind of mysterious. Like BBBNC holders get extra benefits in these V-token farming pools, but they don't go into detail.
They definitely leave you wanting more, right? This boosted farming can be a huge plus for BBBNC holders. Got to wait for more info on that one.
All right, let's talk about where all this profit actually comes from. Can't just magically appear, right?
Well, not magic, but Bifrost has this really diverse set of revenue streams lined up. The big kahuna, commissions on those staking rewards, everyone's getting through their liquid staking.
So like a tiny cut of what everyone's already making by staking on Bifrost. Pretty slick.
Yeah.
What else have they got going on?
They do system staking, where the protocol itself stakes assets to bring in more revenue. Basically putting their money where their mouth is.
Shows they believe in their own platform, which is always a good sign, and it's another reliable income stream.
Then you've got transaction fees on the Bifrost chain itself, standard blockchain stuff. And there's this dedicated pool for swapping V tokens, generate swap fees. Some of that goes to BBBNC holders too.
Wow, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, that's for sure. Talk about diversification.
You said it, and they're already thinking ahead. Bifrost is planning to launch even more features, like Lube Stake for leverage staking, which will bring in even more revenue. All that flows back into those BBBNC payouts.
And here's the twist: they figured out how to profit from people's impatience. If you bail in your BBBNC before the lockup's over, you pay a penalty. And guess what? That penalty goes right back into the protocol, making things sweeter for everyone holding BBBNC.
Clever, right? It's like commit for the long haul or pay up, and that extra cash just makes the whole system stronger. Speaking of penalties, let's talk about those early redemption fees for a second, because they are serious business.
Yeah, no kidding. 3 months left to your unlock date, and you get cold feet. Bam, 9.77% slash, and it just gets worse from there. 3 years or more left on your lockup. Kiss 100% of your VBNC goodbye.
Message received, loud and clear, think long-term or face the music. They're really going all in on encouraging users to be a part of Bifrost's journey, not just dipping their toes in.
So there's this idea of a BBBNC growth flywheel that Lurpus lays out. Sounds pretty powerful.
It's a positive feedback loop they're shooting for. Buyback should pump BNC's value, attracting more users and capital to Bifrost. More users, more ways to use V tokens, which boosts their yield. Higher yield, more people jumping into VBNC, which means more revenue for the whole protocol.
And then that extra revenue fuels bigger BBBNC payouts, making BNC even more desirable, and the cycle keeps cranking. It's a compelling vision, but can they actually deliver?
$1 million question. The concept is solid, but there are definitely some hurdles they'll need to clear. But first, let's address the elephant in the room. Is this thing live yet? Can we get our hands on some BBBNC?
Well, Bifrost 2.0 is already up and running, and the code for BBBNC is done, being tested as we speak. Some of the finer points are still being ironed out, though. The proposal's open for comments, and let me tell you, the community is buzzing. We'll drop a link to the full proposal doc in the show notes. You can go explore, see what all the fuss is about. The comment section is especially spicy, lots of passionate opinions flying around.
People are definitely eager to see BBBNC in action. But there's still big questions to answer, like the proposal dives deep into the nuts and bolts, how you get it, how it works, those penalties. But it doesn't really address the bigger picture.
Right. How does this all fit into the whole Bifrost 2.0 upgrade? They mention merging parachains, decentralization, even EVM compatibility. Where does BBBNC fit into all that?
Exactly. And what about potential risks? We've touched on some early redemption penalties needing constant growth. But is there more to consider? Could this system actually turn away new users who aren't ready to commit for years?
That's a good point. It's like joining a club with a super long membership contract. Better be sure you want in. We need to unpack these questions, really dig into what BBBNC could mean, not just for Bifrost, but for DeFi as a whole.
Absolutely. This is bigger than just one token or one platform. It's about exploring new ways to get people engaged, reward long-term commitment. Ultimately, it's about pushing DeFi forward.
Love it. We're not just learning about BBNC, we're part of the conversation. Figuring this out together, that's what makes DeFi so exciting. So stick around, we're just getting started. We'll be back in a bit to break down the mechanics of BBNC, those lockup periods, and that sliding scale for earning rewards.
Welcome back, folks. So before the break, we were talking about how BBBNC fits into this whole Bifrost 2.0 thing. It's not just some random new token. It's a piece of this bigger system, all designed to get Bifrost growing.
Right, totally. But before we get too far ahead, let's zoom in on the details for a sec. How do you actually snag some of this BBBNC? It's not like you just go buy it on an exchange, right?
Nope, not that simple. You've got to earn this one. Remember VBNC. What you get when you stake your BNC on Bifrost. Well, to get BBBNC, you lock up that VBNC, like putting it in a time capsule. And the longer you lock it up, the more BBNC you get. It's kind of like a time deposit, but instead of measly interest, you're earning a share of Bifrost's future profits. Could be way more lucrative.
Okay, I'm starting to see how it all works. Tell me more about these lockup periods, though. They range from 3 months all the way up to 4 years. That's a serious commitment.
Yeah, it is, and they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
Bifrost is really laying out the red carpet for the folks willing to go long. The longer you lock up your VBNC, the sweeter the BBBNC rewards. They've got this sliding scale, so it's not just a simple one-to-one thing.
Oh, I love a good analogy. So is it kind of like picking a data plan for your phone? The more data you sign up for upfront, the cheaper each gigabyte is. Here, the more time you commit to, the more BBBNC you get for each VBNC.
Exactly. You got it. If you're all in, true believer, lock it up for the full 4 years, you get 1 BBBNC for each VBNC you put in. But if you only lock up for, say, a year, you get less 0.4375 BBNC per VBNC to be exact. And the shortest option, just 3 months. You're only getting a tiny fraction.
So they're basically saying, hey, if you truly believe in Bifrost, put your money where your mouth is and lock it up long term, and we'll make it worth your while.
That's the message loud and clear. But it's not just carrots, they've got sticks too. Remember those penalties for early redemption. If you try to unlock your VBNC before the time's up, you're going to lose a chunk of it.
Yikes. Those penalties are no joke. It's like breaking a contract with a hefty early termination fee. Makes you think twice.
Right. And those penalties, they don't just vanish, they get added back into the protocol's revenue, which ultimately benefits everyone who's patiently holding your BBBNC. It's a way to discourage people from being flighty, reward the ones who are in it for the long game.
Okay, so let's say I'm a long-term believer. I lock up my VBNC for the full 4 years, ride the BBBNC wave, and then bam, lockup period ends. What happens then? I assume I don't just get my BBNC back since it's non-transferable.
Right. At the end of your lockup, your BBBNC basically expires. You get your original VBNC back, and then you can unstake that if you want, get your original BNC tokens back.
Full circle. So it's not like I'm losing my original BNC. They're just chilling, earning rewards, hopefully increasing in value, while I'm patiently holding on to my BBBNC.
That's a great way to think about it. It's like delaying gratification to potentially reap bigger rewards later on, the old marshmallow test.
Now let's talk about the nitty-gritty. How does Bifrost actually generate the revenue to support all this? Can't just be conjuring profits out of thin air, can they?
Nope, no magic here. Remember how we talked about Bifrost being a big deal in the liquid staking game? Well, that's their bread and butter, their primary source of income. They take a small commission on those staking rewards users earn.
So, like a small fee for providing a valuable service makes sense. And instead of pocketing that fee, they're using it to power this whole BBBNC ecosystem. Pretty neat.
It's a really clever system. They've made it so the protocol's revenue is directly tied to its main function, liquid staking. More users they bring in, more staking rewards those users generate, more money Bifrost makes, which translates into bigger profits to buy back BNC and keep those BBBNC rewards flowing.
But they're not stopping there, right? They've got other irons in the fire, other revenue streams coming in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Remember system staking. That's where Bifrost stakes its own assets to generate even more revenue. They're practicing what they preach, putting their own skin in the game.
Love to see it. Shows they believe in their own platform. Always a good sign. And it's another solid source of income to keep things running smoothly.
Then there are the transaction fees Bifrost collects for, well, processing transactions on its network. Pretty standard in the blockchain world. But it's important to note they're not JC relying on transaction fees.
Right. Not putting all their eggs in one basket. Diversification is key for any sustainable system. What about that V-token stablecoin pool we talked about earlier? How does that bring in revenue?
That's a specialized pool where users can swap between different V-tokens. Every time a swap happens, Bifrost takes a small cut, adds it to the revenue pot.
So they're creating a marketplace for V-tokens, and that marketplace generates revenue for the protocol. I'm starting to see the big picture.
And they're not done yet. Don't forget about Loop Stake, their plan for leverage staking. It's a way for users to amp up their staking rewards. And of course, Bifrost will take a little piece of those amplified rewards.
It's like they're building this whole suite of financial tools around their core liquid staking product. And every piece generates revenue that ultimately flows back to BBBNC holders.
Ambitious plan, no doubt. If they can pull it off, it could be huge, not just for Bifrost, but for DeFi as a whole. We'll be back in a bit to explore what kind of impact this new approach could have, so stay tuned.
And we're back. All right, so we've spent this deep dive exploring Bifrost's tokenomics 2.0, especially this BBBNC thing. We've covered how you earn it, those lockup periods, the penalties if you get cold feet, even where the profits are coming from.
Yeah, it's a lot to wrap your head around, that's for sure. But the basic idea, it's pretty clever. Encourage people to stick around, share the profits with the true believers, build this ecosystem that benefits everyone involved.
Makes sense. But even the best laid plans, right? What are some of the risks, the challenges Bifrost might run into with this model?
That's a great question. Always got to look at both sides of the coin. One thing that comes to mind is, what about the whales? The folks holding massive amounts of BNC, could they end up kind of dominating the BBBNC scene?
Yeah, the classic whale problem. If a few big players control most of the BBBNC, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of decentralized governance?
Exactly. It could. That's a risk for sure. You could end up with a small group having way too much power over the protocol, not exactly what we want in DeFi.
And what about those long lockup periods? We talked about how they're meant to encourage commitment, but could they also backfire, like scare away new users who aren't ready to lock up their tokens for years?
You're absolutely right. It's a double-edged sword. High barrier to entry could definitely slow down Bifrost growth, especially if other platforms are offering more flexibility.
It's tough, isn't it, balancing those competing goals? Reward loyalty, discourage the flippers, but not make it too hard for new folks to join the party.
No easy answers there. And then, of course, the elephant in the room, market volatility. Crypto's known for its wild rides. What happens if the price of BNC tanks after you've locked up your VBNC for 4 years?
Oof. Yeah, that wouldn't be fun. It really highlights the risks that come with any investment, especially in DeFi.
No doubt BBBNC is built to benefit from Bifrost's success, but it's still at the mercy of the same market forces as any other crypto out there.
So, not a guaranteed path to riches. You're placing a bet on Bifrost, on the whole DeFi space, really.
You got it. And that's why it's always do your own research, understand the risks involved, and never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Words to live by. Well, this deep dive has been a wild ride, that's for sure. BBBNC, it's a bold move, could totally change how we think about tokenomics and community engagement in DeFi.
Yeah, pushing the boundaries, that's for sure. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out if other projects follow suit.
So as we wrap things up, any final thoughts for our listeners? What should they take away from all this talk about Bifrost 2.0 and BBBNC?
I think the main takeaway is DeFi is never standing still, right?
Right.
Always evolving, new ideas popping up left and right. BBBNC is a perfect example of that. Shows how projects are experimenting, trying to find new ways to incentivize users, build sustainable systems.
It's a reminder that we're all still learning, figuring this stuff out as we go.
Exactly. The future of DeFi is being built right now, and it's up to all of us to participate, ask the tough questions, make sure it's built the right way.
Couldn't said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Bifrost's brave new world. Be sure to check out the full proposal, see what the Bifrost community's saying, and as always, stay tuned for more exciting developments in the world of DeFi.